I've been physically attacked. People pulling guns on me, knives trying to stab me, slash me. They've spit on me. They've vomited on me. You just wouldn't believe it. Tried to bite me. I've seen people's tongues go back and forth like serpents. Again, I've seen people levitate. I've seen people's eyes change from all white to all black to all red. One case, the eyes changed to like a yellowish greenish color with reptilian slits. I've seen it all. The only thing that I haven't seen is a person's head turn all the way around. I've seen everything else, and superhuman strength, screaming and shrieking like you just wouldn't believe. I mean, and when that's happening, I'm thinking, boy, the police are going to burst in the door any second, because at the levels that this is taking place, I was quite certain that the neighbors are hearing this and they're thinking, oh my goodness, somebody's being tortured or killed or something, at this location.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Sensible Hippie Podcast. I'm your host, the Sensible Hippie. Today, our special guest is Reverend Bill Bean, who's back to dive in deeper into the fascinating worlds of spiritual warfare, UFOs, and Bigfoot. Topics that left us hanging on the edge the last time. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that follow button and give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this episode. Let's get started and unravel some of the mysteries with Bill Bean.
I'm thankful that God has me to be in this position to help people, but boy, oh boy, it just seems like there's more and more people that are suffering out there.
That's the sad part, but it's good that you're there to help.
Yeah, I'm thankful for that, absolutely. It is challenging sometimes because this really is almost like a 24/7 operation. I mean, I help people at all hours of the night, and if I'm not traveling, then I do Skype and phone sessions with people, so I could be on a phone session or a Skype session with someone at 5, 6, 7 in the morning from different parts of the world, and it's just absolutely amazing. Without the power of God working through me, there'd be no way, no human way possible to sustain this. But praise God. He called me to do this work. I didn't choose to do it. He chose me to do it. And you would never, ever hear me claim to be anything because I'm not. I'm just a vessel that God works through. And I thank him and praise him for it. So he's done extraordinary things through me in helping people from all over the world.
Yeah, and you also have a podcast that you do live.
Yeah, my little Warrior Mode podcast, that it's really more a church service than it is anything else. And I'm thankful for that too, because it's good to have a gathering of people to where you can have real and authentic praise and worship of our Creator. And people are there and it's growing, and people really, they see it as their church service. They see it as a way to connect with others, to have a sense of support. And so it's a really wonderful thing, and I'm grateful and thankful for it.
Yeah, I watched your show this morning. I didn't see it live last night, but I watched it this morning. It was really good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And again, I try to set a tone. I always pray that God will work through me to be a blessing to somebody. That is my MO every day. So I'm thankful for that. And so I set out every single day, whatever it is, whoever it is, there always seems to be a next person. So, but the Warrior Mode broadcast is something to where I offer spiritual deliverance live. During the broadcast, we have a prayer list with, I don't know, over 600, probably 650 people on the prayer list now. So it's just amazing. It really is me. I'm thankful. I'm really thankful for all of it.
What's a prayer list? What is that?
So if someone...
And how do you get on it?
all you have to do is say, can you pray for me and add me to the list? And that's what I do. And I don't take the person off the list until they are contacting me saying that the problem has been resolved, they're doing great, and so they stay on the list. So that's why so many people, because I won't take anybody off until they're, whatever, if it's healing or, health afflictions, financial, relationship, whatever it may be, they'll come to me and ask me to, add them to the list, and I do, and keep them on there.
Oh, that's nice. That's really awesome.
Yeah, and it takes me, well, I don't know, probably close to 40 minutes now to say all the names on the list. So I end the broadcast with the prayer list. And then last night, it's always Friday night into Saturday morning, I ended it with a wonderful video that, sometimes we talk about some disturbing things on there. And I'd rather not talk about them, but it is part of the truth. So if we're speaking truth, that sometimes we got to speak about some bad things. And so I always try to, even though we're talking about some bad or uncomfortable things, I always want to end the broadcast with something uplifting and positive. And I played a wonderful video at the end after the prayer list last night, and it was great. And I've gotten so much feedback that the people really loved it and appreciated it. So praise God that, again, the MO is to keep the frequency and vibration on high.
Yeah, that was cute. Excuse me. It was the orchestra.
Yes. Oh, thank you for watching. Yeah, you did.
I watched the whole thing.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and that in itself, just watching that and the innocence, the little girl first, she goes up and puts the coin in the hat, and then how the whole thing unfolds, and then the community, the people that are there, they start to come together, and there's no divisions, there's nothing other than the people there coming together, enjoying the beautiful music and the moment that is now nothing but good and positive and blessed. It's a win-win. Now, Wouldn't it be amazing if, America and other places could suddenly have that type of spirit to come together in that way, and everything is gone and we're just in the moment and we're enjoying. You don't have to worry about anybody shooting you or robbing you or worse or whatever. It's all good and positive. And children are enjoying themselves, families are together. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
And it's just so sad that we lack that in society now. So we need to somehow plant those seeds to get back to that.
Yeah, and a lot happened since we last spoke.
Oh.
You guys had an earthquake.
Yeah, amazing. And we don't get the last earthquake that we had here was years ago, which was a 3.8. Now this is interesting, Mia, because it was a 3.8 and it did destruction. I mean, it really messed this where I live now, my home. There's still cracks from that earthquake, and so the area was affected. The Baltimore D.C. area affected. Well, this apparently this most recent one, the source was somewhere in New Jersey, near Bedminster, New Jersey, and then came down into Maryland and D.C. area, and I think went as far as Maine, and so the whole area from D.C. all the way up to Maine was affected by this, and I find it interesting because they say it was a 4.8. Now, two things that are interesting. As I just stated, a 3.8 did some serious damage here in Maryland in the D.C. corridor. Yet this 4.8 didn't, they're reporting that it didn't do any damage at all. I don't know how that is. I don't understand it. And not only that, but then we had the so-called eclipse on Monday 4.8. So, which I'm not sure what I saw there, Mia. Number one, in my life, I've never ever heard about emergency responses, National Guard, all these things organized in the event of something happening from me. Never have I heard that before. And then secondly, in all the eclipses that I've seen in my life, something was just off about that. I can't put my finger on it. I'm not an expert on these things. I'm not an astronomer. But something felt very off and very manufactured in a way. And how in the world do you have an object big enough to create that effect if it's not the moon? I don't know what it is, what it would be. But another interesting thing, and some people are saying, oh no, it's just an anomaly, and others are saying that there's a gigantic thing that's come out from underneath of Antarctica and moving in the waters, and it moved. It was in the region near Africa, creating supposedly waves and storms, torrential storms, and then the other side of South America was affected. Then it started moving up, and the more it moves, the more of these storms. So supposedly places like Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and Antarctica as well have been affected. But even here in the United States, there are places along the eastern seaboard. Now, it's interesting. We really, here in Maryland, have not had the severe storms, but we have had winds here for the last 3 days. And we normally don't get winds like this in April. It's a pretty strong wind gust. But going north and west, places like Pittsburgh, they had severe storms and flooding. And then going out through that corridor through upper PA and into upstate New York, they had some pretty severe weather as well. So everything is, there are so many things. And then, I don't know if you heard this news story. Well, I'm sure you heard about the Key Bridge collapse here in Maryland in the Baltimore area, which, again, I am no expert on bridges or ships or anything else, but I will tell you this. Based on what I saw, if that footage is authentic, what I saw, then there was intent there, and that ship, which was supposedly disabled with power, all of a sudden was going full steam ahead and made a hard right into that column. Now, Stevie Wonder could see that. So what's going on? So then after that, shortly thereafter, a couple days later, it was a bridge in Ohio. They said just suddenly caught fire, spontaneous combustion. And then a few days after that, the Verrazano Bridge in New York, I've been over that bridge, I don't know, probably 20, 30 or more times. There was a ship that was headed straight for it, was going to strike a column, and then somehow at the last second, tugboats or something got it to steer away from that. And then this morning, or last night, I've never heard of this in my life either. They first reported that it was 24, now they're saying it's 26. 26 barges broke free in the Pittsburgh area in the Ohio River, and they were heading and still heading for, I can't think of the name of the bridge, but nearly striking that bridge as well. So then there's another story out of Norway that just took place a day ago. Another big ship struck a bridge there in Norway and knocked that down. So I'm sorry. I don't believe in coincidence, number one. Everything means something. And we see a clear pattern, in my opinion. We see a clear pattern now that there is intent to do these things.
And if these ships are run by smart, I don't know, whatever you call them, smart stuffs, I mean, they could maybe be taken over too by somebody else.
Remote control.
Controlling it. Yeah, remote control.
Absolutely. And that's interesting because there's so many things happening, and I think we're on the precursor. And I believe that when the United States got involved in the, and I think all these things are, I hate to sound like a conspiracy guy, but the truth is stranger than fiction. And I believe like all these wars are planned out. Even with presidential elections, those presidents are selected. They're not elected. I'm sorry, I don't believe any of those things. Um, and so I felt that we'd really entered into, it was beginning stages of World War III when the United States started funding Ukraine and then sending uh, weapons over there and probably troops as well. But now I think we've really entered into it with this Israeli um, debacle that has happened here with Iran, and so now we're hearing that we're getting the advance warning that Iran is going to attack Israel. Yeah, you think? And so now the United States will be involved in this conflict. They're already sending warships over there. I just saw, before coming on air, I just saw a piece about the air traffic here in the Baltimore D.C. corridor coming to near standstill. They're canceling all these flights. So they're anticipating something. So what's going on here, Mia? And these are only my opinions and speculations. I think that they have done their best, and they are the controllers of America and the world. And it's a very small group of people, but I think they are taking direct orders from the devil via these reptilian entities that are in control of everything. And I think that they've done their best and continue to do their best to make this a scripted reality, okay, especially in America. And so they script out all these events, and then we have to live it out, whatever their little play is that they've put together. And unfortunately, good people and innocent people suffer as a result of this. And I pray that a day is coming to where our God will finally have enough of this and remove every evildoer from planet Earth. That's what I pray.
Yeah, and you're right. I do think it could be some kind of playbook that they have written, and they have to follow suit. It's just pretty odd. Like all those, I didn't hear about all the other bridges.
Yeah.
How coincidental is that? That's very strange.
And yet there are still people out there, and this is how they. So I've written books about this. I speak about it often, about the spell that people are under. Some that they will believe the mainstream media, no matter what the narratives are. I saw that, on the news, and that's it, and that's what it is. And now you have people that are, and not now, I mean, it's been for a while, attacking those of us that can see and say, wait a minute now, there's something wrong here. I don't believe that narrative, but that angers some people because they believe that narrative hook, line, and sinker. So you could control the populace by feeding them the lies, the narratives from the mainstream media. That's how you keep these people under control. They wouldn't dare question anything. Oh, I saw or heard that on the news, and that's it.
And I know. You showed a video last night on your podcast of some, I don't know, I couldn't barely see it, but something in the sky.
Yes, not far from where I'm at, absolutely. And it was in the Philadelphia area and over the Delaware River, which is less than an hour from where I live. And I have seen objects like that before throughout my lifetime, and I have documented objects like that before. So the last time that I saw something, as a matter of fact, it was recent, that I saw something like that had that electric blue color, and it was in the eastern sky here in Maryland, in the Annapolis area, and I don't know, it was probably 5 a.m. I see these things all the time. Mia, I see them all the time, and sometimes I'm alerted. I mean, I could think, sitting here in my office one night or one morning, I wasn't giving an interview, I was answering messages, and this beam of light came through my window, which is to my right, and was right on my arm. And I got up and I went to the window, and it was this gigantic triangle object that was hovering in the sky that shined that beam of light. So sometimes they will get my attention to get up and come and look. I can't explain it. the only thing that I could say is that it's true. Everything that I've said and put in my books or talk about, it's all true. I have updated pictures and video as well of these things. Who are they? What are they? I believe, in my case, there have been instances to where I've seen objects. A couple of years ago, I saw it, and again, it's, I don't know, 5, 6 in the morning. I look out, I see this white spherical object, and so I'm looking, and then another one pops out behind that one. So now there's two, and it was exactly at 5 a.m. And it lasted from 5 a.m. to 5:12 a.m. There was a clock to my left, so it lasted from 5 a.m. to 5:12 a.m. They hovered out there, and so I tested them. And at first I said, by the mighty power of Yahweh and his mighty and holy name, in Yahshua Jesus the Christ's name, I bind and rebuke you and command you to depart. They did not depart. And so then I started saying, thank you, Father, praise you, Father. Every time I gave praise and thanks to God, these objects would respond by having these bursts of light, these magnificent white bursts of light every time that I praise God. So I have to say that I believe that that was a divine encounter. I've had many divine encounters throughout my lifetime involving UFOs, but I've also had demonic encounters as well involving UFOs, times where I felt my life was in danger. So I've experienced all these things, the whole cavalcade of it, and I, as a living witness to it, A, it's real, and B, there are different types of aspects and experiences involving these things.
Yeah, the last time you left us on the edge of our seats when you mentioned Bigfoot and UFO. So we didn't get a chance to dive into those. So hopefully today we're all ears and we can explore those fascinating subjects.
Absolutely. So it is my belief, and again, this is based on my personal experiences, and a lot of prayer and research as well. I believe that the Benai Elohim, the sons of God, when they were cast out of heaven, Satan among them, they came down here, they took human women, they had unnatural relations with them, creating a hybrid offspring of giants called the Nephilim. And the Nephilim went into the fields and forests and had unnatural relations with apes, bears, wolves, dogs, you name it, monkeys. And that, in my opinion, is the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Sabe beings. And they are beings. And I believe they're every bit as much supernatural as they are flesh and blood. I believe these beings can render themselves to be invisible. How do they do it? I don't know, but they can do it. And I've had personal experience with one of these beings that did it, and that came within 20 feet of me, making a clacking noise. It was like taking two pieces of slate, and so rubbing them together, and then clack, 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 clack. Whatever it was, which I believe it to be, one of those Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Sabe creatures, I was in the parking lot. I was waxing my vehicle. I first heard the sounds down in the ravine, which was probably 50 feet from where I was standing, to my left. And so you could hear, and I've had so many of these different types of experience, you can always hear something very big walking and cracking and popping, branches and all the stuff down there, leaves, whatever it may be, moving things around. You can hear it. So then shortly after that, it starts up with like taking pieces of slate, rubbing together, and then 5 clacks. Clack, 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 clack. So it got my attention, but I wasn't afraid, and I kept on doing what I was doing, wiping my car down, and it continued to do it. And it was getting closer and closer. And then I'm like near the trunk of my vehicle, which is closest to the edge of the parking lot, and then there's the ravine that goes down from there. And this unseen being was within 20 feet because I could feel it approaching. I could hear it approaching because of the clacks, yet I can't see anything. And there it is right there, Mia. I guarantee you within 20 feet of me, making these noises, and then it retreated and went back down, and you could hear it further away again, making the noises like that. So I've had so many of these different types of encounters. I came out one day, there was a potato-sized rock that was carved in the shape of a heart that was laying on the bumper of my truck. I came out another time, and there was a weaving, and these beings are known for this. It was a circular, they take like branches and things like that, and they intertwine them and interweave them, and something like that was left for me as well. Just absolutely amazing, the experiences that I've had over the years. And I've also gone on behalf of people that were under demonic attack, and at the same time having the UFO, Bigfoot types of experiences, encounters as well on several occasions. I've gone into the woods adjacent to those properties, commanding those beings to leave. And one occasion was in an area near past Albany, New York, called Gloversville. And this was, I don't know, maybe 2016. And it was bitter cold. I'll never forget it. It was like, it was snowing. There's probably about 10 inches of snow or a foot of snow on the ground at the time. It was windy, probably 30-mile-an-hour wind gust. I drove there. I think it took me, with the snow and everything, 5.5 hours to get there. And it was just freezing cold. It was so cold that I couldn't even, I had gloves on, I had boots on. I couldn't even feel my fingers or toes anymore because I started out there because the homeowner was telling me that they were, having these demonic experiences, but also their dogs were being terrorized by these Bigfoot. So I had the homeowner and two other guys with me at the time, and I went to the edge of the property into the wooded area. Now, they could corroborate this. You could feel a presence from the woods, like somebody looking at you. I couldn't see anything. But then I said, I want you to leave these people. You are scaring them. You're terrorizing their animals. And by the mighty power of Yahweh in his mighty and holy name, in Yahshua Jesus the Christ's name, I command you to depart. And at that moment, you could feel them leaving. You could feel it all pulling back. It was the most incredible thing that there was actually some type of intelligence there observing. And then when I commanded it by the power of God to leave, you could feel it leaving. And I wouldn't recommend that to anybody, for anyone that may be watching this show. I do these things by the power of God working through me, but I'm not recommending that you try it. If ever there were the disclaimer, don't try this at home, don't do it, because it could be disastrous. You have to be in this state of oneness with God, and it is only by his favor on me that he has selected me to be this way, because I am not perfect. I'm far from perfect. I try to do the best that I can do and be the best that I can be each and every day, but we live in a sin-filled, fallen world, therefore none of us are perfect. But I try my best to have the most real and authentic and strongest connection with God that I can possibly have. Therefore, he blesses me, he empowers me and works through me to be a blessing and a help to others, but I cannot have a spirit of fear. I have to be in control at all times, and I have to have that level of blessed assurance, knowing that God's with me and for me always. So who or what can stand against me if he's with me and for me? And that is the approach that I have to take. So my best defense is a strong offense, and I'm always aggressive. I'm always fierce. I'm always bold. So I cannot show and fear. And I'll tell you, as you already know, I'll tell your audience, that I have seen things that even if you were standing there with me, you would rub your eyes and go, did that just happen? Did I just see that? I've seen things that 99.9% of the people on this earth probably have never seen and don't want to see. And if some did, they dropped dead of a heart attack. I mean, it's just, and again, it's only by the power of God that I can withstand and sustain these things and then overcome them by his power working through me to bring relief and deliverance to these people.
Yeah, I'm sure you have to have that kind of state of mind. And I've seen on shows, the people being possessed, do they actually throw things at you like, I don't know, whatever your weakness is, do they know it? Because they don't know you, but the demons are saying it, right? Out of them.
Their mind is unplugged, so now this external demonic force is now plugged in to that host body target. And so, yes, I've been physically attacked, people pulling guns on me, knives trying to stab me, slash me. They've spit on me. They've vomited on me. You just wouldn't believe it. Tried to bite me. I've seen people's tongues go back and forth like serpents. Again, I've seen people levitate. I've seen people's eyes change from all white to all black to all red. One case, the eyes changed to like a yellowish greenish color with reptilian slits. I've seen it all. The only thing that I haven't seen is a person's head turn all the way around. I've seen everything else, and superhuman strength, screaming and shrieking like you just wouldn't believe. I mean, and when that's happening, I'm thinking, boy, the police are going to burst in the door any second, because at the levels that this is taking place, I was quite certain that the neighbors are hearing this and they're thinking, oh my goodness, somebody's being tortured or killed or something, at this location. Just in these moments, and I guess it's when I do these interviews or I'm writing a book that I have these moments of reflection. And I just think this is supernatural in itself, that I would be able to do this for as long as I have. B, the sheer volume of people now in the thousands that God has worked through me to help. And C, having the covering and protection from God to keep me from losing my mind or, absolutely being destroyed. This is miraculous in itself.
Does any of those entities ever follow you home?
No, and I thank God and praise God for that. And I take, so what I do when I'm performing these exorcisms and deliverances, I call on Yahweh's angels to come and take these things into custody, every one of them. So I've seen throughout my lifetime some of these preachers in the churches, and they've got a gathering of people, and now they're casting out demons. Well, that's great and fine, but they're not asking Yahweh to send those angels to take them into custody. So these things are jumping from one person to the other, and now you got a circus sideshow here that, they're just jumping from one to the other. They're not asking Yahweh to send the angels to take them into custody. So therefore, they're being cast out, but they're just jumping right into somebody else or something else. And so I have to be very thorough in my approach. And part of that approach is asking God to send his giant warrior angels to take into custody every single demon and every curse, hex, vex, and spell and everything, strongholds, attachments, legal rights, whatever it may be, that have been sent to this victim, to the target, via the devil. And so that's how and even before I go into a home, Mia, I have to bless the land and the property before I go in. So I'm asking God already to send giant warrior angels to take into custody anything evil or negative that might be on that land or property. And then once that's taken care of, and I declare the land to be blessed, sealed, sanctified, purified, cleansed, and made holy before the Most High God, then I have to enter in to the dwelling, and I anoint everybody's heads in there with a combination of holy water, holy oil, holy salt, sometimes frankincense. And then I say several prayers right there at the front door, including a house blessing prayer. And then we have to sit down. Then I become a counselor because I don't want to know people's deep and dark secrets. I have to know them in order to get to the root of the problem. So now we're sitting down, and the dialogue can be very painful and gut-wrenching because in not all the cases, but in a good amount of the cases, there has been some type of traumatic event, and whether that is rape or child molestation or some type of violent, terrible things that either happen in childhood or later in life for the person, it's very difficult for these people to get this stuff up and out and off. When you've sustained levels of trauma in that way, people try to bury it. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk to anybody about it. And that's a blessing as well. And this is one of the reasons why God chose me to do this work, is because of the level of trauma and suffering that I had sustained in my life. I couldn't be here right now had I not been there. And when I go into someone's home, they have an instant bond with me and trust, and knowing that I have been there and I have suffered high levels of trauma and I know what it's like to suffer. So we could come together. You know, I could be the greatest scholar in the world. If I've never had the experience, well, then there's no way to come together. So God knows what he's doing, and that's why he chose me to do this work, and I'm grateful and thankful for it. But it is gut-wrenching at times, and I've had people sit there for as long as 30 minutes before they could get the words out to tell me what had happened. It was that painful and that traumatic for them. So once we get to the root of the problem, then we're getting this stuff up and out and off. Then I can engage these demons in spiritual warfare and bind and rebuke and cast them out. Now, that's not always the case, because when I've entered into some of these homes of people that were completely demonically possessed, I can't sit down with them and talk about anything. You know, I have to engage those demons right away. So the game plan differs, you know, when you're in that type of situation, when somebody's completely taken over. Pretty much the same approach, because it's all spiritual in nature. It is all connected. And as I've said to you, some, I believe, are in the heavenly divine realms, that they are worshiping Yahweh, and they are divine, but then others are in the demonic realms. You can feel the difference. And whether that is, you know, the Sasquatch, Sabe creatures, or these so-called alien creatures, or whatever you want, beings, or whatever you want to call them. So I could feel that right away. And I don't claim to be anything, but I could tell you this: God gives me a knowing of things. And sometimes when approaching the house, before I even get out of the vehicle, God's already put a picture in my head of what's going on, how many entities are there, what the root of the problem is. Of course, then I need confirmation. But I have an idea of what is involved and who is involved. And I'll even ask questions such as, you know, are you having other experiences besides these, you know, feelings of being under attack? Are you having UFO sightings? Are you having dreams about non-human beings? Are you having experiences with these Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Sabe people? And in a lot of cases, the people say yes. So the approach is still the same. The intent is still the same. by the power of God working through me to evict these. And obviously, if they're harming people spiritually, it's sometimes physically, then we know that it's satanic, it's evil. So then my approach has to be to have that fierce and bold approach and evict these things by the power of God working through me.
And you say you can do this over the internet too?
Yeah.
Or Zoom
via
or
Skype,
something?
Zoom, phone, because the intent is the same. So it's just like us right here. We're having this interview. I'm not there with you, but it's the next best thing to being there. And you can still feel the intent of my words. I'm speaking the same way that I would speak if you and I were sitting in a room together. It's the same thing. And so as long as we're invoking the power of God over the situation, then it's the same thing as me being actually right there.
You need to have holy water or the salt in order to do this?
Well, what I do, so if we were having a session right now, I would say to you, and if you didn't have these items, then I would say, okay, you could either go to the tap water and I would bless that water and you could apply that to your head, or if you have some form of oil, olive oil, cooking oil, whatever it may be, and I would say, okay, get that, let me know when you have it, or I could see it if it's this case, if it's this type of format. And then I would say a blessing over it. Father, I ask that you make this oil or whatever it is to be blessed, sealed, sanctified, purified, cleansed, and made holy before you. Peace is upon it, and peace shall remain forevermore. So once they do that, I ask them to apply that to their head and then take some more and press into the center of each palm. And then I ask them just to take a deep breath in and exhale and then relax, let themselves go. And start to feel the presence of God with them. And at the same time, think about every horrible, wicked, negative thing that's ever happened from childhood to the current, so we can have a complete purging of these things. So therefore, the temple is cleansed of all of these things. And then I can progress into evicting these things by the power of God working through me.
That's incredible.
It's all miraculous. It's all, and it's the greatest thing. Like even last night, and thank you so much for being a part of that last night. And I had no idea that you were watching, and I appreciate you doing that. And I hope that you'll continue to do so. But I received so many messages from people saying how amazing it was for them. And I get these messages, every week, but not to the degree that I did this morning with people saying they felt a little something extra. And praise God for that. And it makes my day. So I can't tell you how many endorsements or testimonials that I've had over the years, well over 1,000, I can tell you that. But it's the greatest thing when people write something like that from the heart, saying as a witness that God really worked through me to help them, and they've gone on to have a quality of life. Now, that's not always the case, Mia. I wish it was, but I had a recent thing that was very difficult for me, and this has happened 3 times in my career now, to where God has worked through me to deliver a person. They seem to move forward and seem to do well, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, and it's all by choice because we all have free will, so we're free to make choices. But these people, in 2 instances, got into drugs and alcohol. Once that happens, those spirits take you over. The spirit of alcohol and the spirit of pharmakia, they have a legal right to do anything and everything, and they will. Then in another case, perhaps there might have been alcohol involved, but there are some other things as well. But these 3 individuals that I'm thinking about ended up taking their lives. And it is absolutely devastating to me because I have such a level of joy when I know that God's worked through me to help somebody. But it's absolutely like being kicked in the stomach when, something like that happens. And the most recent thing was a young man by the name of John Drenner that I helped in 2014. I love that kid like a son. I did everything that I could to help him. And he went on to have, at that moment, and he was fully possessed. And God worked through me to have evicted those demonic spirits from him. Went on to have a good life. I mean, he was working very hard. He was working upwards of 15, 16 hours a day. Um, Met a lady. I ended up performing the wedding for them. They had 3 little children. Then, for whatever reasons, a couple of years later, he decides that he's going to start drinking and using drugs, and just absolutely destroyed him. So he lost his wife, he lost his children. Um, he ended up in Indiana, and this was a couple weeks ago. I had received a message at like 5 in the morning from the lady that he was with, and I thought, boy, this isn't good, because I've never talked with her before, and she's sending me a message here. So I called her. It was like 5 in the morning, and she informed me that John had killed himself, and just absolutely horrible. So then I had to contact his ex-wife or strange wife, and then his mother. Horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible. And then I presided over the funeral last week in Enola, Pennsylvania. Very, very sad, and just an example of how the devil, when given a legal right, can take it that far. And that is the objective. That is the MO of the devil, to kill, rob, and destroy. And so this young man was 31, getting ready to turn 32, and now he leaves behind these 3 little babies that are, I think, 7, 6, and 2. And that was the worst part of the whole funeral for me, was seeing those little children up at the casket of their father. Just absolutely horrible. And I can't describe in words how terrible I feel that this is taking place. But the devil is having a belly laugh, because he's not only destroyed that individual, but he's really, in essence, created a level of destruction in the family as well, where those little children, they'll really never know their father. And it's just an awful, horrible, tragic thing. And I pray that it never happens again, because it really affects me. And I don't want to see anybody suffer. I want to see people do well. I want to see people moving forward. I want to see them happy and flourishing. And when we see this opposite effect, it's just awful. And the other guy was in California, and I didn't know him. It wasn't and that's what made it so bad with John, because it was personal. I didn't know the other man, aside from coming out there to California to help him and his family. He was a war veteran and suffered a lot of trauma, obviously, through war in the battlefield, and then came back and was having a real hard time. And furthermore, I've helped a lot of soldiers that have returned from battle, and most of them were under demonic attack, and some even saw demons on the battlefield, and some, through the being in the position of having to take lives, were also haunted by that, to the point to where they couldn't sleep anymore, maybe an hour or 2 here and there, but they couldn't even hardly function anymore because of that level of trauma on the battlefield. And so, unfortunately, this man fell into that category, and it was awful, because he too had a wife and little children. And it just, when that wife contacted me and told me that, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So I do my best, by the power of God working through me, to keep these things from happening. I pray that it never happens again in my life or in my career, Mia, because it's terrible.
Yeah, isn't it too? I think the Bible says if you remove the demons and they come back in, it's 7 times more powerful.
Correct. So if that temple is cleansed, yeah, you're right. If that temple is cleansed and those demons are evicted, demon or demons, then if the person opens the doorway again, 7 more wicked than the original will come back and manifest. Yeah. And the result can be like what I'm describing right here. And I'm not trying to scare anybody out there that's watching this. I'm just telling you the truth. So it's very important. I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what I do. I try my best at every moment in my life and of my life to be as close to God as I possibly can be. And I always want to have a real and authentic relationship with God. I pray every single day that He works for me to be a blessing to somebody. But I'm not naive in understanding that the devil never stops. And he'll send, just like Yahweh sends those angels out to us, the devil will send demons out as well, and he's looking for openings. So all life operates on frequency and vibration. And if we can keep God first and be real and authentic in that, then our frequency and vibration will be on high. And that's where we want to be. The devil won't have anything to chew on. Doesn't mean he won't stop trying. But if we're on low frequency, low vibration, we're wide open and vulnerable for demonic attack, and that's what the devil's looking for. And then it's like the person has the black cloud over their head. Nothing ever goes right. It's always a curse, a disaster, a problem, a drama, and it never ends. So unfortunately, a lot of people, well, if you look at it the other way, fortunately, they find me and they come to me. But unfortunately for them, that they're under that type of attack. But fortunately, they find me, and then God can work through me to help them. So that's the win-win part of it.
Yeah. And isn't with alcohol, it's called spirits?
So, and this is for any of you out there watching, you can go to any liquor store and you can see that, on the sign, beer, wine, and spirits, because there are spirits attached to it, the spirit of alcohol. And so research it. You don't have to take my word for it. Research it. It's there. And then when people are abusing drugs, that is the spirit of pharmakia, which means sorcery. Research it.
There's so many people that are addicted to drugs, alcohol, and that just opens them up to these entities, unfortunately.
I'll give you a recent success story. My nephew, who was addicted for many, many years, and it's a shame. He was such a good kid and had the ability and capabilities to do well in life, but then made those choices and became addicted to the point to where I didn't want to talk to him anymore, because if I can't be a blessing to somebody, then I'm not absorbing their curses, and I'm not funding drug activities or anything else like that as well. So it comes to a point to where I get upset and I say, look, well, you're not making any effort to do anything. So come back to me when you have decided that you're going to make changes. And that's exactly what happened in this case. He contacted me out of the blue recently and said that he wanted to make changes in his life. Could I perform a spiritual deliverance over him? Could I baptize him? And that's exactly what I did. And I'm happy to tell you, Mia, that he has completely turned his life around. He was with us on Warrior Mode last night. He's there every week. I'm very proud of him. And he has and this is the power of God. This is what he does. So for those of you out there who think that God doesn't work miracles, I beg to differ, because my nephew is now a miracle. He should have been dead years ago. But God had another plan for his life. And now he's completely changed his life around. And I'm so thankful to God for that, and so happy for him and so proud of him as well. So that's the flip side of seeing, I've described some of the worst, darkest, most horrific things. But then when you see something like that, it just brings tons of joy to know that he's okay and he's going to be okay.
Oh, that's great. That's good. Good story. Wow.
And everything is going to be in the positive and negative. I don't care who you are. You're not going to get through this life unscathed. You're just not. There are issues and problems and challenges for everybody. But the difference for me is in having this level of faith, I'm always up for the challenge. And not that I want them, but when they come along, I have blessed assurance in knowing that God is going to be with me and for me and helping me to meet and overcome the challenges. And I'll expand on that a little more with John. So John committed suicide, and shortly thereafter, I had like 4 people. Now, it's not uncommon for somebody to contact me and tell me that they're suicidal, but it is uncommon when 4 people in a row contact me and say they're ready to shoot themselves or they're going to take their lives. So the devil is very clever in knowing that when we are hurting on something, that something has affected us, then he can create a situation and a scenario and work through people to have that effect. Boom, 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 just like that, to try and bring you down, to try and create that level of inner turmoil and conflict and lower the frequency and vibration. So we have to be ready for that. We have to be ready for anything and everything. And the only way that we can be is through a real and authentic relationship and connection with our glorious Creator.
Yeah, I agree. Amen to that.
Exactly what it was, when these people coming back to bed, and I thought right away, I knew what it was. This is an attack. This is a way to try and capitalize when you're already hurting about something, and then it's a pile on, and that is designed to weaken. So we have to be aware, and knowledge is power, and power perceived is power achieved. So I would urge all of you out there, study, study, study. Pray first always and ask God to lead you to truth and in truth. Then you do the work. And like Yeshua, Jesus the Christ said, the truth will set you free. And it is, boy, oh boy, it's so liberating when you understand things and you can pray and God leads you in the right direction as far as information goes. Very, very empowering.
Wow. And do you have any future projects that you're working on?
Sure, there'll be another book, and I've the next one. I've had someone wants to do a book with me about encounters with supernatural, whether it is Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or the UFOs with police officers and first responders. But probably the next book is going to be another devotional. Just some of the most powerful scriptures and powerful testimonies of overcoming things. So I want it to be an inspirational, motivational type of work. I've had enough about writing about myself and my own experiences. I think that chapter is now ended, and it's time to go into a new chapter of just trying to produce the best work that I can to uplift and motivate and inspire people and to urge them to do research and studies. First of all, pray and urging them to have their real and authentic relationship with God. So I could see that happening, Mia, before anything else. And, I spoke about this. I don't know if I spoke about it last night or the week before. I've done so many media things in my life. I'm sure it's well over 2,500 interviews that I've given, whether that was podcasts like this or TV shows or whatever it may be. I don't get contacted by TV anymore. And there's a reason for that. And the reason being, and I have nothing against anybody, but how can I say this? I'm non-compliant in the sense that I've been on some of these TV shoots and they'll say, oh, how about saying this? And can you say this? And one guy said to me, can you be more inclusive? Speak less about God And so I said, absolutely not. No way. So this makes me non-compliant. And there are people out there who would do anything to be on TV. Anything. You name it, they would do it. I am not among them. So I'm thankful in a sense that I've had a platform where I have done a lot of TV shows, and it started with New Dominion Pictures, Trisha Dozier and the crew there, which they're wonderful people, and they've always treated me with great respect, and I've had a good relationship with them always. That's where it started. But then, it went into some other production companies and things of that nature where there wasn't quite the pleasurable experience. And really, in some instances, an attempt at fabrication. And again, back to the scripted reality type of thing, what they do with most of these paranormal shows. And I just can't be a part of it. I can't. And if I can't be myself, which I'm not a clown, I'm not an actor, I'm real and authentic. And if I can't be that way, and if I can't be that way when I'm on TV, then I'm not interested. So I guess that makes me an outcast, a poison pill. I used to get contacted by TV producers once a month, twice a month for this project, that project. I had agreed to be a part of a TV series several years ago. And I felt like God was putting an urging on my spirit that this was not good and it was not going to be good for me. So I went back to them and said, look, I'm very sorry. I can't do it. I've prayed about this. I just can't. I'm sorry. And they were not happy at all. I expected them to sue me, to be honest with you. They didn't sue, but ever since that took place, I have not been contacted by one producer for anything. So that's okay. I don't care if I'm ever on TV again. I'm thankful for the opportunities that I've had. There have been people over the years that were watching TV that they were suicidal and they were flipping through the channels and happened to see me on a TV show and then contact me, and God worked through me to help them and to spare their life and to keep them from suicide, and they move forward to have a good and wonderful life. So I am very thankful for that. But it is a double-edged sword in the sense that I don't watch those shows. I don't recommend people to watch those shows. But yet at the same time, I've been on those shows and God has worked through me to have saved lives because of some of those shows. So it is very, it's a fine line. And so I find myself feeling almost hypocritical at times because I don't endorse those kinds of shows, but at the same time, I've been on many of those. One show I did, they got upset with me for something because they never aired me. And what they did to get at me was to change it around and say that a powerful warlock was brought in to help the family. And so that was their way of, so they completely cut me out of what I did and how God worked through me to have helped the family and spun it into a powerful warlock was brought in to help the family. I would never, for no amount of money, would ever do any shoot or business with that show or company ever again. So they've never contacted me since, and they better never contact me because it'll never happen. But that just goes to show you that if you are not compliant, and if you don't go along with what the narrative is and what they want you to go along with, then you can instantly become their enemy and they can do things against you.
It just shows who controls the world and who controls the media.
That's absolutely right. And so I would, and we spoke about this on Warrior Mode last night, I would rather be the outcast and would rather the world hate me than to be in compliance with the world and to see evil as good and good is evil. That's Isaiah 5:20, and it always comes back to that more so now than ever before. What are those who call evil good and good evil, or good evil and evil good? We're living it. We're living it. You can flip the endless channels on your cable provider today, and you'll find that the majority of the content is absolute garbage. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. I've had opportunities in my life to I'd probably be a millionaire now if I'd gone through with some of the opportunities that I've been presented with and offered, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it then, and I can't do it now. So I'm quite happy to be who I am, where I am. Though I'm not a millionaire, I'm spiritually rich, and I'm much more thankful for that. I'm blessed, and I pray every day that God works for me to be a blessing. So I once had a life that was so horrible that I didn't want to live, and now I have a life that's so blessed that I wouldn't trade my life for anybody's life on this planet. Is that not a miracle?
Yeah, absolutely. It gives people hope. It gives people hope. And your show that you do, is it every Fridays that you do this spiritual work?
At 11 p.m. Eastern in the Saturday morning. We usually wrap it up by 1 or a little later, depending on how much I have to say. But we treat it, I guess the best way to sum it up, and you were there, so you could probably give a good summary better than I, but I try to present it part church service, part news, because we do talk about the news and some of these headlines. I recite a lot of scripture. We have a live spiritual deliverance for everybody that takes place every week. We have the prayer list. We have 10 steps to victory. We have 7 declarations. We have 20 affirmations. So it is all geared not only for the deliverance aspect and the cleansing, but the empowerment aspect as well, to now start to take in these steps and these declarations and these affirmations to empower the person.
It is. And where can people find you?
The easiest way is BillJBean.com, or you could go on Google, punch my name in, you'll see. If you are out there and you're in need, if you feel like you're under spiritual attack, contact me. I'll do everything that I can by the power of God working through me to help you. I'll get to you as quickly as I can. I'm super, super busy always, but God helps me to manage this, and he helps me to get to everybody in a timely manner. Again, I'm like a 24/7 operation almost, to where, try to make myself available to people pretty much at all hours. And it's just been an amazing journey, and I'm thankful for it. And I always want to be there because I take the sufferings of others very seriously and very personally. We didn't even, we went through this time and we didn't even really get into other things. Maybe the next time we could get into the Mandela effect. Now, another thing that we're going to start digging into, and I haven't had a chance as of yet, I want to find out, since this so-called eclipse has taken place, I am quite certain, I can't prove it yet, but I'm going to dig into it. I'll bet you there's a lot more Mandela effects that have now manifested since that eclipse. So I'm going to start digging into that, and the next time, if you'll have me back again, the next time we will dig into some of those things, and you're going to be astounded, for those of you out there who think that it's impossible for these biblical scripture changes and everyday worldly changes as well. If you want to believe that, that's fine. And if that helps you to get through the day or sleep at night, that's wonderful. You keep on believing that, but that's not the truth. I'm sorry to tell you, that's not the truth. The truth of the matter is that there are a plethora of scriptures that have been changed and altered, and I'm certain that they're continuing as we speak, and worldly effects as well. And so maybe we can really dig into that the next time, Mia, and I think people will be astounded for those that, again, can't wrap your mind around this. And it's understandable. But at the same time, that doesn't change the truth and the facts.
And that brings us to an end of another episode of the Sensible Hippie Podcast. I want to thank my special guest, Reverend Bill Bean, for joining us today and sharing such intriguing insights into the realms of spiritual warfare, UFOs, and Bigfoot. Your stories and experiences have truly enlightened us. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. If you found this episode as fascinating as I did, please don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and subscribe for more discussions like these. Until the next time, keep your mind open and your spirit strong, and don't let the unseen keep you from believing the unbelievable. Bye.
To fill the space, but you give me something new when I'm lonely at night. I had no idea about what was to come when I saw your face, that you